مرحبا بكم في حوارات السياق. انتهت المفاوضات غير المباشرة بين الولايات المتحدة وإيران في الدوحة حول الاتفاق النووي بالفشل. ليس هذا فحسب، بل إن مسؤولا أمريكيا يقول إن فرص إحياء الاتفاق مع إيران باتت أسوأ بعد اجتماع الدوحة. عموما للمزيد من المتابعة ينضم إلينا دكتور سعيد قاسمي نجاد، الباحث المختص في الشأن الإيراني في مؤسسة الدفاع عن الديمقراطيات. دكتور سعيد، مرحبا بك معنا.
Thank you for having me.
لماذا فشلت المفاوضات باعتقادك؟ وهل كانت لها فرصة أساساً؟
So I think what we should see what happened that we are here. If you look at in the aftermath of the Doha meeting, Tehran said that in their view, the talks were very successful. And the Americans, on the other hand, they said the Iranians didn't seem to want a deal. And it was not clear why they came to negotiations. I think it's very clear why they came to Doha, the Iranians. And if the State Department doesn't understand why they came, we are in very big trouble. Tehran is happy now because it's getting what it wants. It's getting sufficient money through export, and to the degree that they actually had a 4.3% GDP growth in the last year. And at the same time, what's happening is that they're expanding their nuclear program very fast at a very quick rate. So, and we know for a fact that most of the Iranian nuclear expansion actually happened after Biden came to power. So basically, Tehran is eating the cake. Tehran is having the cake and is eating it too. And if you look at what Khamenei sees now in front of him, he sees two options. Option one is what the Biden administration is offering him, which is JCPOA 2. Basically, Biden wants to kick the can down the road, telling Iran that, okay, you accept some limited and temporary restrictions on your nuclear program. And in exchange, we allow you to have up to $800 billion in financial benefits until 2027 and $1 trillion by the end of the decade, plus a patient pathway to the bomb. So basically, accept some limitation, get the money, make the bomb later, that when it's not our problem, when we are not in the White House. And option two for Khamenei is just to go nuclear now, either make the bomb or announce itself as a threshold nuclear state, and then negotiate with the world from the position of power. The reason that Khamenei, I think more and more sees option two as a better option. And the reason that Khamenei reached that decision, probably, we don't know for sure, but the reason that we are here is that the Biden administration lost all the leverage that it had at the beginning of January 2021. It came to power because of the maximum pressure. It lost the economic leverage. And the second part, Tehran does not believe that a military option is on the table. So to summarize it, the way that Rob Malley and Biden are negotiating, I don't think they had any chance of getting a good deal.
تبدو إيران بمحاولاتها الأخيرة وكأنها تستمر في سياسة شراء الوقت. لماذا سياسة شراء الوقت الإيرانية تأتي ثمارها منذ 3 عقود من المفاوضات؟ أليس هنا بينهم أو بين الغرب رجل رشيد؟
I think some understand, some really don't understand. I'm not sure Rob Malley understands it. There were a lot of optimism about reform in Iran, that Iran will be reformed, the Islamic Republic, the mullahs in power will be reformed. There was a lot of optimism in the Obama administration that if you give the regime in Tehran money, then they become more moderate. They understand that they understand the value of wealth and things like that. It didn't work like that. The more money they have, the more aggressive they become. After the Obama administration, they had this deal with the regime in Tehran. We saw that the Iranians, the regime, the Islamic Republic in Iran, actually expanded its aggression in the region. They control like 4 Arab capitals. So that's not how it works. I think the Trump administration understood that, and that's why they had this max pressure. And to a certain degree, it really worked. It really put pressure on the regime. If you look at, as I said, you look at their nuclear expansion, most of it happened under the Biden. And there is a reason for that, because they don't feel the pressure. And under the Trump administration, I think the regime understood that there is a credible military option on the table. Right now, they don't feel that way. They don't feel that the Biden administration will use any military option. And I think they actually feel comfortable that the Biden administration is actually working to prevent a military intervention by others like the Israelis.
ماذا الآن بعد فشل الجولة الجديدة من المفاوضات؟
So I think from the American perspective, I don't see the Biden administration to engage in a better policy, at least for the next few months. You have to look at their incentive. So they have an election in November, and even now it's clear that they are losing. So that's what all the polls show. And what they don't want, and the reason that they are losing, is the inflation, especially the gas price, the oil price. And until now, in November, they really don't want to do anything that the oil price jumps up significantly. The same thing with the Europeans. Europeans are feeling the pressure for the inflation pressure, mostly from the oil and gas price. So they are very keen to see the Iranian oil coming into the market, and they definitely don't want to see tension that creates another so these are like the partners in the negotiation. So I don't think over the next few months they don't want to do anything that adds to the tension. I believe that, and the Iranians don't want it too, because as I said, the Iranians are buying time. They are expanding their nuclear program very quickly. At the same time, they are expanding their exports very quickly. Last year, they had $48 billion of non-oil exports, the highest amount in their country's history. The oil export is going up, both in terms of volume and in terms of revenue. They also say that they're getting the revenue back more and more. So, and one thing that the regime in Tehran is really afraid of is an Israeli intervention. And as long as the regime in Tehran is negotiating with the United States and Europe, they hope that the US and Europe, they prevent Israeli from a military intervention. So all sides here, they really like the negotiation. So I don't see, at least for the next few months, we see a very radical shift in the policy.
بما أنه العودة إلى اتفاق أوباما بات صعبا، باعتقادك ما هو شكل أفضل اتفاق نووي مع إيران من النوع الذي يضمن مصالح الشعب الإيراني، دول الجوار والعالم؟
So a good deal would be a deal that actually like what Libya did, to get rid of all the infrastructure, sending it somewhere else. Because the regime it's not a regime that you can trust. Any deal that you have with them, we know that they are cheating. They have been cheating before. They are cheating. They are not doing the obligation they have in NPT. So a good deal is a deal that doesn't leave the regime within industrial scale nuclear facilities. So that would be a good deal. And I think what Biden should do, and I don't see him doing, is first he should replace Rob Malley. So Malley is someone that is very soft on the regime. The Iranians know that. And he should replace Malley with someone who is tough on the regime. As long as Malley is there, the Tehran's perception of Washington's weakness is not to change. And if Tehran perceives Washington as a weak negotiator, it's not going to surrender. The second part is that Washington should go back to maximum pressure. It should the campaign that was initiated by the Trump administration. It should enforce the existing sanctions, and it should add sanctions regime. It should add more and more entities in Iran's economy to its sanction list. It should prevent Iran from exporting oil. It should find a way to curb Iran's non-oil exports. The third part is that Washington should send Iran's nuclear dossier to the Security Council. Trump tried to do it. Europeans prevented it. Right now, Biden has been negotiating with Iran in a multilateral approach with the Europeans for 18 months. He hasn't gained anything, so he should see if the Europeans are going to help him to do what Trump couldn't do in the UN Security Council. And this fourth part, which is I think the most important part, is that Washington should restore the military deterrence, because at the end, the only thing that prevents Khamenei from going nuclear is his fear of a military intervention. If he doesn't have that fear, he doesn't see any reason why he should not go nuclear. So Washington should do things that make Khamenei understand that if he tries to go nuclear, there will be a military action.
بالعكس، هم يقومون بعكس كل ما ذكرت. ما أود أن أسألك، برغم كل هذه المحاولات لمدة 2 من المفاوضات جميعها باءت بالفشل، إدارة بايدن لماذا تصر على هذا النهج؟
So I think the Biden administration, it's in the foreign policy at least, it's basically the third term of Obama administration, and the Iran deal was the legacy, the only foreign policy legacy of the Obama administration. So I think they have a deep emotional tie to this deal, and they try everything to revive it if they can. And they are reaching to a point over the last 18 months, this really bad negotiation tactic and strategy has arrived to a point that unfortunately more and more it seems we are at a point that either the United States and the region should accept a nuclear Islamic Republic or engage in a military intervention. Before, when Biden came to power, for example, Iran's currency reserve was at a very low point, by some estimate at $4 billion. So the pressure wasn't on Khamenei. He was in the corner to accept the deal, to surrender. Right now, that's not the case. And I think the reason is some deep emotional tie that this administration has to the revival of the nuclear deal, and some misunderstanding of what's going on in the region, what's Khamenei's incentive. The Obama administration saw Iran as a normal state. So its plan was that, okay, we have to all these nations in the region should get together and divide the region. It didn't understand that this is a revolutionary regime. Its goal is to overthrow all these other regime in the region, Israel, Saudi Arabia, UAE, and to kick the United States out of the region. I think the Obama administration and the Biden administration really didn't get that part. So they see the Islamist regime in Iran through a lens that doesn't reflect what the regime actually is.
سؤالي الأخير عن إسرائيل وعملياتها داخل إيران، هل ترى طهران في ذلك تهديداً حقيقياً؟
I don't think they believe that US will not let Israel to do things, but I think they see the Biden administration as a force that as long as they negotiate with it tries to prevent Israel from doing from a military intervention. but they understand that if the negotiation fails, if Washington understands that the deal is dead, then they won't do anything about that. So they may even help Israel in its military intervention. And because of that is that you see that the regime is really, whenever the deal seems dead, they revive it. So they say, okay, let's come and negotiate. And I think that's the strategy that has worked, unfortunately, because of, again, I say the misunderstanding that the Biden administration has about Iran, and Rob Malley, especially Rob Malley, who has his own history and policy.
شكرا جزيلا لك دكتور سعيد قاسمي نجاد، الباحث المختص في الشأن الإيراني في مؤسسة الدفاع عن الديمقراطيات، للمشاركة معنا في حوارات السياق. مشاهدينا شكرا على طيب المتابعة، إلى الملتقى.